Hey everybody, Austin here, formerly of the Mark and Austin Show here on the Mark Lesko podcast with a special announcement. In my time away from the show, I've started a new business venture. It's called the Uplift Pickleball Company, and I sell primarily pickleball paddles. And I've also returned to be a proud partner with Mark and the show. So what does that mean for you? That means if you're in the market for a fantastic pickleball paddle, you can check that out at upliftpickleball.com. And at checkout, if you use the code LESKO10, not only will you save 10% off of your purchase, but you will directly support the Mark Lesko podcast via commission. And that's really what we're about here in the Penn State family, uplifting each other and succeeding together. Thank you so much for listening. We are Penn State. Now back to the show.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into another episode of the Mark Lesko podcast. Joined by the man, again, Sean McHugh, live from State College. Going to talk some football stories, Penn State, NFL, talk about what he's got going on now a little more in depth. So, Sean, it was a lot of fun the first time around. Thanks for coming.
I'm excited to be back on.
Yeah, Sean. So we've been talking about we can talk football stories, all day long. And you have a lot of them. So one of you guys, when you played early 2000s, that's really my earliest memories of Penn State football. And that was a huge part of my life. It certainly inspired me to start a podcast on them. I mean, that's what I did growing up. I watched Penn State football. So the guys that you played with in your time, we talked about it. Those were like they had some down years there under Joe comparatively to his other years, but great experience for you personally. It was still Penn State football. Still had a lot of big games, a lot of big wins. So, you talked a little bit last time about getting recruited and, your time when you started there and playing for Joe. So started out, Sean, what would you say some of your favorite memories? I know this is like very broad, but favorite memories playing at Penn State. I mean, from the games to your coaches to you talked about the experience when, Joe and Fran Ganner were helping you through a hard time when your mother passed. What would you say some of your favorite memories are playing at Penn State?
Man, it's a tough one. There's so many of them. But I think, if we took away like specific games, I think memory-wise, and one of the things that like I'm always extremely grateful of when I get the chance to reflect back on it, was the locker room. And when I say locker room, I mean, beyond the Lash building, just like the relationships and spending time with your teammates. Like the one really cool thing about football, in my opinion, a little bit different than most other sports because you have such a large roster, is, we had 85 scholarship guys, another, I think 20 plus, walk-on guys, whatever that total number is. So you have literally people from every walk of life, different backgrounds, upbringing, just everything you can imagine comes into one locker room. And what's amazing is the way a locker room can gel. And again, outside of the locker room, but like some of my favorite memories, which is going to sound silly to some people, are like the late nights in Nittany Apartments, like playing video games with the guys, late on a Saturday after you get back from a away trip, having guys that maybe, aren't exactly the same guys you would probably hang out with in high school, but you made a connection and now you're over in each other's apartment. Like I remember playing, this is going to age me, Def Jam Vendetta on a PlayStation 2 was like a wrestling game with rappers in it. And Larry Johnson would always come by and want to challenge us, and we'd kick his ass every single time in Def Jam Vendetta. And just those little things. To the point where I had two roommates, Matt Kranchek and David Kimball, who got into a fist fight, like a legitimate fist fight before spring ball over a video game. So doing things like that and, just spending time taking trips out to like Raystown Lake with the guys. So like it's when I think about things that I miss about Penn State football, and again, we take away the actual Beaver Stadium playing the game. But that's one of the things I really miss. And it's always fun, even like Letterman's weekend, just reconnecting with some guys and, talking about some of the things we did. And some of the things that like I would never tell my son I did or tell anyone else I did, just some stupid stuff being a 19, 20-year-old kid in college. But just really spending time and having the summers at Penn State when it's a little bit later on your class load, a little bit more free time because your workouts are a little bit more condensed in the summer, and just really spending time around the team, whether it's coaches, players, managers. You just really get an opportunity to get to know each other and really appreciate, even though, like I said, you might come from different places, you might end up different places, but you have that common bond that you're a Penn State football player. And there's something special about that. I still, again, I'm biased. We know that. But I think it's unique to Penn State in that culture. So that's one of the things that I always think about is, what do I miss? And that's really one of the big things I miss is just being in the locker room around the guys, because you can't find that outside of sports. I've tried, but there's no business, there's no other opportunity to have that kind of connection.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, that would absolutely foster some good memories for sure. So you guys all lived in Nittany Apartments, and that's where primarily football players lived at the time, right?
Yeah, so freshmen, and I don't know how it is now, but freshmen under Joe, we all stayed in dorms, and we were scattered. So Joe wanted you to be, in the general student population. So you had a football player roommate, but you were on a floor with, just regular students, other athletes. But it wasn't like we had an athlete dorm as a freshman. It was really important to Joe that you integrated yourself with the rest of the Penn State population and you removed yourself from being a football player and you were a Penn State student. And that was really important. And I'm so glad he did that. I mean, I met great people outside of football that we got to be really close with as well. And then after my freshman year, we all moved into Nittany Apartments. And that's where a majority of the players lived. It's probably different now because some of these guys have their NIL money and go get a nice condo somewhere. But I would say 85, 90% of us lived there in Nittany Apartments, which was a lot of fun because you're never more than a quick couple-minute walk away from someone else's apartment to go stir up some trouble.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so, I lived around athletes when I was in the dorms too, but I don't think I had any. I had some football players on my floor, I think, at one point. I think Adrian Amos was on my floor, a couple other guys. But, it was cool just seeing those guys around it. And I always say this, Sean, when I went to school, it was 2011. So for 9-10 weeks, I was at the school that my dad went to, that you went to, that you played at. I was at Joe Paterno's Penn State. And, man, there was just something about the air, like the feeling, the energy of the campus. Like, it was just different when Joe was there in a good way. Like, for example, my first big game was Alabama. And, we were out and about the night before. And, it was chaos. It's the night before a big game. But it was like controlled chaos, if you will. I don't even really know how to explain it, but it was just this. It was like vintage college football atmosphere with Joe Paterno as the head coach, and I'm just like, man, like this is the real deal. This is Penn State. This is college. It's a lot of fun, and it wasn't just like out in the weekends. It was going to class and everything. The energy was just something I really can't explain. And then I was there after the scandal happened. I was there when that happened, when Joe was fired. And honestly, to this day, it was never the same, and it still isn't the same. It was never that same vintage Penn State feeling, if you will, around campus, unfortunately. And as time went on, we got O'Brien, and then Franklin comes in. As you distance yourself from the legacy that was Joe Paterno and Penn State, no one's going to forget about Joe Paterno. But it was sad that some people coming in, they were like, they didn't understand the true impact and the legacy that Joe Paterno was responsible for there at Penn State. And to this day, guys like us, we're never going to forget what Penn State was before. But when you're back on campus now, or you go back for Letterman's weekend, you were just at Lions training camp. When you come back for Penn State related things and you're up in the football building and stuff. Is it different for you, being that it's like a totally different time and era at this point?
It's funny you bring it up because I haven't really thought about it in that context before. But I'm glad you did bring it up, because the answer is no. It's not any different. It's one of the reasons why I appreciate your podcast so much, and I'm begging you to be on it all the time, because it's talking about it makes it real again, right? Like, but I take Letterman's Weekend for an example, and if anyone follows my Instagram, both followers that currently are on there, I did a funny video of just me and my wife walking on campus. It was pouring rain that Saturday morning. We went to the creamery at like 9 a.m. I got a peach paterno cone, and we're walking campus. And I think I mentioned, maybe if I didn't mention, but I met my wife freshman year at Penn State, our second semester. And it took us right back to 22 years ago, walking through campus together. And again, things have changed. Downtown's completely different than it was when I was in school here. Obviously, all those years have passed since, Joe was coaching. And it's one of those things where, like, I think the more we talk about it, and I think the more people that do things like you're doing and, bringing back recognition, to me, it keeps that, that feeling and that, the aura of the Joe Paterno Penn State very much alive. And it's one of the dangers as time goes on. It's just the reality, of life, is every year that goes by, it gets a little bit easier to forget, some of the key impacts he had on not just Penn State, but the community, and not just football players or athletes, but anyone who attended Penn State. But to me, like, when I'm back on campus, it literally takes me right back to, 20 plus years ago. It's, things are different. I noticed, I'm like, man, like the Lash building is completely different. We got an ice arena now, it's all one building, where when I was at school, the ice arena used to be down those steps next to the Lash building. So like some of those things have changed, but like the feeling I have, the pride I have walking through campus, like none of that has gone away. And it literally takes me right back to, like I said, over 20 years ago. And I'm here, like I mentioned, I'm 2 or 3 times a month. I'm on, in State College, and just pulling back and driving down 322 off that Woodland exit. Like, it takes me right back to, like I said, when I was here as a student athlete. But for me, and I think a lot of players would tell you the same, or former players would tell you the same thing, like, it doesn't change. It feels just like it did back then. The only difference is now is my knees and joints hurt a little bit more. And, I got kids and, a mortgage to deal with. So it's a little bit different that way. But the sense of pride, the sense of feeling, the sense of the Penn State community, that has not changed one bit for me. And again, I think I speak for a lot of former players. And a lot of former, alumni. I know my wife, she wasn't an athlete at Penn State, but she grew up being a Penn State fan with both parents who are Penn State alumni, a sister who's a Penn State alumni. So like, she has that same sense of pride, and whenever she can come back with me, she wants to come back, because that's how much Penn State meant to her as well. So to me, it's bigger than just football. But the short answer to your question is, it takes me right back. Nothing's changed in my eyes.
All right, good. That's good to hear. I think it was because, so, we've talked about it. Like, my dad went to Penn State. He graduated in '87 when they won the national title. Like, he was at all those games when they, 86 season. And I grew up 25 minutes outside State College. My dad worked at Paterno Library for 34 years and retired. Like, Penn State is in my blood. I mean, my dad was first generation Penn Stater. So being such a diehard fan and then being there at that time, your whole life, you're like, oh, I'm going to go to Penn State and I'm going to go to football games. And then that happens. It's like devastating. That was a very hard time for me and my dad. That was a very hard time for all fans, for you Letterman, for players. I mean, so like today, for example, I was downtown. I ran out of pre-workout for the gym, so I had to go downtown to the GNC and get some. And people are coming back. Like, I didn't realize how busy it was. Like, by a miracle, found a parking spot, on the street.
Oh, it's a zoo around State College right now. It's moving weekend.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's like move-in day. It's like the first days today. So, I'm walking downtown and I'm like, and it's people are walking around, there's students, like, it's just like, it's just Penn State. And I'm walking around, I'm like, man, like, I miss this, like just being downtown, the energy. You and I, we work jobs now. It's like we're in our offices and stuff all day, and you're like, man, like I miss this atmosphere, just being downtown. Like Penn State, it really is a special place. That has not been lost because of what happened in 2011 at all. It's still a very special place. But definitely had a unique experience when I was there. And then my senior year, the bowl games were brought back, and we beat Boston College at Yankee Stadium, and
yep.
I was in a kinesiology class. Which building? Right across from the corner room. That one, I can't remember the name of the building, but I was in a classroom in the building across from corner room, and got a text in class that, hey, the ban has been lifted. Penn State can go to a bowl game. And the professor that I had, she was like pretty strict. So like no phones in class, nothing like that. It took everything in me not to jump up and yell because, we got our bowl games back, and everyone else in class saw it too, but none of us were saying anything. So I after that, I like ran home and we were like celebrating, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a special place, Sean, 100%. Now, again, this is something I can't relate to because I didn't play Penn State. So what your time at Penn State, if you could pick, and we talked about Nebraska last game, or last episode, that game. If you could pick one game in your career that stands out to you, whether it be the crowd or plays, or is there one game that stands out? I mean, you had a lot of great runs at Penn State. But if there's one game that stands out to you, what do you think it would be?
Yeah, so it's actually an easy one. And it's not a game that had anything to do with me. But playing Miami, I guess it would have been 2001 season, 2002 season. You got to double check it.
Yeah. Yep.
At home. And the previous season, so yeah, I believe it would have been 2000, 2001, Miami, is when Adam Talaferro, if you remember, had the neck injury, spine injury at Ohio State, which was one of the scariest things I've ever been a part of or seen on a field. Fortunately, that's been the only time I've had to see something that serious. But when he brought the team out of the tunnel, and I know you're really good with finding clips.
Yep.
So if you get a chance, find that clip where Adam Talaferro brought the team out of the tunnel against Miami. I want to say it was like a 7:30 or an 8 o'clock kickoff, if I remember correctly. We had talk about Paterno in the Penn State community. We had a pep rally at Rec Hall that Friday night beforehand. It was one of the first games where I was going to get an opportunity to play a significant amount coming in as a sophomore. But I couldn't tell you a single snap I had, but like I can hear the crowd. I can feel, I mentioned on, I think the first time we talked, how you can feel the energy and the vibration on the field. And when Adam Talaferro brought that team out, I get chills thinking about it right now. That's how neat it was. Yep. Like I could watch this and tear up. Like it was just such a cool moment where you thought that young man was never going to walk again, let alone lead the team out onto the field. So I think that's one moment of my entire 4 years, all the cool things I get to be a part of. That's the one thing that I will say was one of the neatest, most special moments I've got to be a part of in sports, period. And Adam Talaferro, I don't know if you got to know him all or have had a chance, but one of the best people I've ever got to be around or meet, doing great things in life now as well. But to see the way he persevered and fought through it, and the support and the staff, the medical staff of Penn State, and really the medical staff at Ohio State as well, deserves some recognition as well for the immediate care they gave him. But literally a miracle type event. So yeah, I mean, that's just coincidentally, Joe called it a miracle. Just one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. I can't even, like, I stumble over my words trying to even articulate it. It was that cool and that special.
You want to hear the crowd again?
Yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Walking onto the field at Beaver Stadium 11 months ago, September 23rd, in Columbus. he would do this. And here he is. He said he would do it. Flash bulbs all around the stadium. Now he's going to run.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you cannot love sports, college sports, perseverance, overcoming things. We've talked about my story and some of the things I've had to overcome. Doesn't even scratch the surface of what Adam Talaferro went through in just under a year's time. And that wasn't the end of it for him. Maybe that was a celebration of what he had gotten through, but that was really the start of his journey to recovery. But that moment, and if you talk to anyone who was in that stadium, just one of those things where, like, I am so thankful I got to be a part of it because it was that special of a moment. Like, and there's not a guy you would talk to who wasn't in that tunnel with a tear running down his cheek, and goosebumps all over your body as that whole thing happened. And that was, I've ran out of a tunnel at a Super Bowl. Like, give me that moment with Adam Talaferro. I'll take that 10 out of 10 times, over any other experience I've had in any level of football. It was that neat of an experience.
Yeah, Sean, that's the kind of stories that made me so passionate about Penn State growing up. I was a kid. I was like 9 when that happened, 9 or 10. That's what makes Penn State a special place, something like that. One of the first things they said, and I remember it. I remember watching it. Dr. Wayne Sebastianelli, they mentioned him right away. Adam Talaferro was not supposed to walk again. And then he's running out of the tunnel.
Yeah. In less than a year.
Unbelievable. And Adam Talaferro was a very good prospect. Like, he was playing as a freshman at the time against Ohio State. I mean, he would have had a very good career as a football player.
No, he was probably because he came in my recruiting class, hands down one of the best all-around athletes I've had the fortune of playing with. And then, then Tim Shaw, who came up a year behind or 2 years behind, another just freak athlete. But, like, those two guys of my playing days, I just think about athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, there were guys who were bigger, guys who were faster, but complete athletes. I don't know if you have another incoming freshman as talented as Adam Talaferro, at least in my era at Penn State. Like, he was that good. And to play as a true freshman, especially for Paterno team, Paterno wasn't big on playing freshmen. I was very fortunate.
Yeah.
I think my freshman class, we had 4 guys earn a varsity letter during our freshman season. And I was fortunate to be one of them. My roommate, Sam Rui, Adam Talaferro, I think Tony Johnson, maybe. And there might've been 1 or 2 others. But that tells you how good of a football player and a good of an athlete Adam Talaferro was, that he's in a game against Ohio State as a true freshman.
Yeah. Really, the first time Joe truly played freshman was 2 years after you left. That was pretty much 2005. He had Deion Butler. He had
that's right.
Jordan Norwood, Derek Williams, Justin King. Terrell Golden was one of the guys that was like a veteran on that receiving core at the time. And I remember he was coming off the field, Joe, during Minnesota at halftime, and Lynn Swann was there interviewing. And he was like, "Joe, what do you think about all these freshmen playing?" And he's like, I don't know, Lynn. I don't know how to feel about it.
Well, think of those names you just mentioned. That's some damn good football players. I don't know how you keep them off the field as true freshmen. But when I came in, it was very clear if you were going to step on that field as a true freshman, you were going to earn it and earn it the hard way. So again, I'm proud of that, but it's more fun just to think about it because, again, like, it wasn't very common back then. And I think, again, going back to Adam, like, that's how good he was. Like, and this wasn't mop-up time against Ohio State or close the game out. Like, he was out there playing a significant role. And no question, I think Adam would have gone on and had a long career outside of Penn State in the NFL. But I also will say he's made a very good career for himself for what he's overcome. So I'm really proud to have been his teammate and, someone that I continue to follow. I don't talk to him, but I, friends on social media, so I get to see what he's doing day to day and he's built an incredible life for himself.
So this is a little off topic. You were teammates with Chaffee Fields for 1 season at least?
No.
Yeah.
So Chafe would have left. The 99 would have been his last year.
Okay.
Or last season, I guess is a better way to put it.
99. Okay. So he's an agent now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Geno Smith, I know, is one of his clients, but, you know, it's awesome to see you guys go on and like have careers in something that, you know, you're like, all right, that makes sense. You know, he's an agent, or, you know, Sean's in sales, or Talaferro, he does motivational speaking and all kinds of stuff. I mean, these guys, you know, you guys go on and do great things. All right. So one thing I wanted to ask you more in depth about last time was LJ runs for 2,000 yards. Unbelievable. And Michael Robinson was talking about it recently on, what was he on? I think he was on NBC or something. He's doing an interview. And he talked about being on the sideline for that game. And did you see that clip when he talked about? All right, so they were asking him about Franklin and him being let go, and you know, Michael said, you know, he never felt like Franklin was a ball coach and this and that, and he gave an example of in 2003 when he ran for 2K, LJ.
So 2002.
Yes, 2002. Yeah. So he said at the beginning of the game, they were running LJ, and he needed like 180 yards or something to break the record in the first, you know, in the game. And a couple plays in, he said they ran like this belly, what was it called? This belly flip play.
Yeah. I think it was like 32 belly flip where they fake a little handoff on 32 belly. Larry takes one step to follow the belly and then goes back the other way. I think that forces out just a little misdirection toss play to him.
All right. So they're faking it to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And he said,
you got to defend the biggest threat on the field, and that's clearly me, not the Heisman finalist, Larry Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Good decoy for sure. So he said that Larry was running the ball a couple times, and they were running this 32 belly flip, and Joe went over to Fran Ganner. He said, Franny, I'll tell you when to stop giving Larry the ball. They can't tackle him. And they couldn't tackle him. I mean, he ran for 280 in the first half.
Yeah.
I think 4 touchdowns. And Michael Robinson said that was a coach. That was a ball coach making, throwing an order out, saying this is what you're going to do. You're not going to stop giving it to Larry until I tell you, because they can't tackle him.
Yeah.
And Larry Johnson I don't think people realize just how big he was. Like, he was, for his size, he's like a Jerome Bettis. Like, for his size, he was so athletic. Unbelievable.
Yeah. He reminds me of like, and again, I'm going to age myself again, but like almost like an Eddie George type back, a little bit of Derrick Henry, maybe not quite as big, but he had that kind of like lanky's not the word because he was strong. I mean, powerful runner, but just like long strides, hard to bring down, and just like a ton of fun to watch run the football. And like, you know, I split time myself, and it was Paul Jefferson, number 39. We would kind of, you know, split time at fullback for Larry. And like, he made us look really good. You know what I mean? Like, you could miss a block and Larry's still going to take one to the house, and everyone's going to pat you on the back and do the lead blocker. But there was something special about Larry Johnson. And the only game, and it still kind of bothers me, not that seriously, but when we went and played Auburn in the bowl game, the Capital One Bowl, I think our whole team, I won't speak for Joe or Fran or anyone else, but I think we thought we were going to hand the ball to Larry Johnson and he was just going to run all over Auburn's defense, which didn't end up happening. But, man, Larry Johnson, I still think is one of the best college running backs to ever play the game. Like, that's how good he was.
Yeah, 100%. He was. Yeah, that was, 2003 Capital One Bowl. So what was it like being on the field? I mean, to me, that's one of the most insane things I've ever seen ever, was him running for like 280 in the first half. I mean, if Joe didn't run up the score on people. If he let Larry just keep running, he would have had like 700 rushing yards.
Well, he'd still be running today. Yeah.
Yeah, he would still be running. I mean, they wouldn't have been able to, stop the game. But what was it like being on the field during that, blocking for him for 2K? I mean, that's an insane milestone, so.
Yeah, it's funny, and I think a lot of athletes will tell you the same thing. It's like when you're on the field during a game, there's a couple of moments. I think I mentioned it last time we talked where you can feel the crowd and the energy. But for the most part, it's just football. I'd love to tell you, like, you're aware, no, he needs this many more yards or this many more. And we're so, like, it's just football. And I think one of the things Joe did really well is he never let you get comfortable. So it was like you were fighting every rep to do your job to the best of your ability. Because if you didn't, Joe's going to see it, and you might not get another chance. So as much as I'd love to tell you, it's like, we're all keeping track and doing. Now, of course, once the record's broken, you have that moment. Same thing when Joe broke the all-time win record, and you get a chance to kind of like soak it in. But as far as like the football part of it, like football's football. And after the first couple of plays, or outside of some big, situational moments, it just comes down to blocking and tackling. And there's really not a whole lot of awareness of things that are happening, the storyline behind the game, if you will. There's a lot more after the game. That's when you get a chance to kind of sit back and reflect about some of the milestones and things that have been achieved. But during the game, at least for me personally, like I said, I think a lot of guys would tell you something similar. It's just a football game. Now, it was always fun to watch Larry run the ball, especially if you weren't in the game. Like, you'd all be glued to the Jumbotron if you couldn't see the field because you knew if you got the ball in his hand, something cool was going to happen. But again, like, that's one of those moments. And that whole season, which was my junior year, it was our most productive season as a team. I think we were, 9-3 maybe. I'd have to double check it. I always remember 3-9 for my senior year, but
yeah.
And then went down and played Auburn in the Capital One Bowl. But being part of that, and like, I'm more proud of it now. Hey, I was Larry's fullback. When he went for 2K, is pretty neat.
Yeah, 9-3 that year, Sean.
Yeah, okay.
That was a good year. He beat Nebraska, beat the brakes off Nebraska.
Yeah, 40-7.
Richie Incognito was just getting warmed up for his, his temper getting kicked out. Who did he fight that game? It was when they called that fumble back, called it an incomplete pass.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a fumble. And then it was Richard Gardner.
Yeah.
Pick six.
Yep.
So, all right.
By the way, our story about my roommate David Kimball making that tackle got back to Kimball. So that was the big hot topic of our group chat the past couple of weeks, is Dave reminding us what he could do to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear this one, Dave? Now Dave's into doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he was bragging today how he tapped out a couple of guys who were white belts. So we can get older. Some things never change, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I hope he saw the short. I had his little highlight on there, and
I'll have to ask him. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that definitely got the crowd fired up. I do remember that. But I didn't tell you this last time, Sean. Like I said, I live outside State College, down the valley, good 25-minute drive. And sometimes, I'm not kidding, you can hear the stadium from my house. So, and of course, if you're a Penn State fan, you played there, whatever, or you're just a fan, you've been at the stadium, you know that that's possible, that you can hear it from 25 minutes away. But I just remember that game, 2002, Nebraska, just how loud it was. Oh, my goodness. It was so loud. But, Sean, when it comes to, if you could, to finish up with Penn State, we talked about memories earlier. Can you remember one specific thing that stands out to you? Like, whether it be, you're playing video games with your teammates and stuff. Can you remember one thing that sticks out to you in terms of whether it be a speech that Joe Paterno gave you, or a meeting that you had with the team, or an event you guys did? Is there anything that stands out to you specifically that you can think of?
Yeah, and not to be overly redundant, I don't remember how much detail we got into the first time we spoke. But the first team meeting, and I think I mentioned this, but it's worth repeating in my opinion, the first team meeting of spring ball when I got back to campus after losing my mom to cancer in February. I remember being back in campus and we have our first team meeting. And then again, I think I mentioned in our first podcast, but as you know, Joe dismisses the team meeting and holds me back. And, you know, for those of you who know Joe, like he's not the biggest stature of a man. And I'm 6'5" and was 265 pounds at those days. But I'll never forget like Joe, you know, taking me aside and I'm looking down and he's so close to me. And he's like, kind of got me by the shirt like he would if he was coaching you, you know, but it was a different kind of grab. It wasn't to scold you. It was like I got you kind of grab. And just told me like it's time to go do something special, like go be special. And I've told the story about, and he mentioned this to the whole team, you know, that life's going to put you into a corner and it's going to happen more than once. And you got two options. You cower or you, oh, did I lose you, Mark?
Hey,
you back?
Yeah, that was weird. It was just circles.
Oh, weird. I don't even know where it cut off then.
Yeah. Well, last I heard was it was after the team meeting. You were with Joe.
Yep. Yeah. And so just saying that, you know, Joe took me aside and it was kind of like this moment where like Joe was always a football coach, right? And even as a player, he kind of had this larger than life persona, you know, a little bit of celebrity to him. But it was one of those moments where like it wasn't Joe Paterno, the all-time winningest football coach. It wasn't Sean McHugh, a Penn State football player. It was just like one man caring, you know, for another man. And just like that moment, like I could tell you where in the team, I mean, they probably have redone the team meeting room now. It used to have stairs up at the top. It would go down. Like I remember being down at the bottom of the stairs that walked out to where Joe had his podium and having that 30 to 1 minute conversation with him. And it was like, it wasn't about wins. It wasn't about football. It was just like, I care about you as a person. You know, my commitment, you know, this is Joe's commitment about not just developing football players, but developing men, you know what I mean? And taking the time, and not that most coaches wouldn't have, but when it's Joe Paterno and it's someone that you have that much respect for, to know that you have his support and he understands the pain you're going through. But also him saying like, you kind of owe this to your mom now to go do something special, like go be special. And so I think that moment, outside of all the amazing moments I've had in the memories, and like I said, we could spend 3 more podcasts just talking about memories. But that one thing still sticks out to me. And it's, you know, why I'm so passionate about Penn State, so passionate about Joe Paterno. And like I said before, like we'll defend Joe, whatever you believe, doesn't matter. Like that's my experience with him. And, you know, you mentioned earlier about 2011 when everything kind of went down. And the one thing like I would always say is like, Joe would be so disappointed if he knew people felt that Penn State changed because of that. You know what I mean? Like Joe would want everyone to continue on. Like Joe never made it about Joe. You know what I mean? And all the opportunities he could have. And it's the one thing about our last coach, who I think wanted some of that spotlight and wanted some of the, you know, the vibe around him and on this. And it's like, that wasn't Joe. Joe was just a good football coach who cared about the men that he coached, wanted you to succeed in life, and would do anything for you to help you get there. And so again, like that moment of just having our, like I said, 30 seconds to a minute. And I've had other moments with Joe one-on-one, but that moment at a time where, you know, I'm trying to get my feet back under me and figure out how I finish out the school year and get ready for spring ball. It's a really special moment to me. And I think it's special because it was just me and Joe. You know, there was no cameras, there weren't any reporters. It wasn't in front of a big group of people. It was just me and Joe. And I'll always remember that moment with him.
That's awesome, Sean. Yeah, to have a coach that actually truly cares about his guys. A lot of coaches say they care, but tough love is something that a lot of coaches don't do nowadays. I feel not a lot, but coaches a lot of coaches in today's age, I feel like it's about money. It's about wins. It's about this. It's about that.
Yeah.
Joe was one of those old school coaches that actually cared about his guys. And it wasn't, holding you guys accountable, like being there in that tough time for you, not ever letting you get comfortable. Like that's real caring from a coach, tough love, being tough on you guys, making you better men. Like that's a real coach.
Yeah.
And I know I've heard, and Sean, like I live, eat, and breathe Penn State football, and I've been following this team as closely as I possibly can. And we're hearing the same thing from Campbell. Like he's holding these guys accountable. They're not getting away with anything. Like the GPA went back up. I mean, just stuff like that, I've heard through the grapevine, and it wasn't always the case with the previous coach, but okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, real quick, Mark, there's something, and it's, stuff I used to teach my sales teams when I was in corporate, or will teach other leaders. It's like, and it's something I've learned, and they call it leadership capital. And essentially leadership capital is when you genuinely care about the people that you lead, it affords you the ability then to hold them accountable and to be tough on them, to have high expectations. Because as a player, when Joe got on you, it wasn't Joe just riding you because he didn't like you. He was trying to be a pain in the butt. It's because he cared. And like, you knew that. And I'm sure you've heard this, as Joe used to say, if you ever go through a practice and I don't yell at you, you better be worried because I've given up. And so like, it was like, and then like, as a player, you're like, oh shit, like I didn't get yelled at today. Like, is this bad? Like, but it was like, you knew it was genuine from Joe. And I've heard the same things about Campbell, right? It's like I mean, Joe wasn't a cusser, but he grabbed your face mask and get into you. But it's like, you can do that because at the same time, he's the first person, like I said, that I would call when I find out my mom's going to pass away the next couple of days. Like there's two phone calls I made, and he could have tore me up and down that afternoon at a practice. But there was never a question how much Joe Paterno cared about his players. And I think really good coaches, really good leaders in life have that ability to hold people accountable when it's needed, because they generally care about the people that they're leading. As a person on the other side of it, the difference between lip service and genuine care. And again, I never played for Franklin, so who knows? I can just give you my opinion from what I saw. But it didn't seem to have that same genuine care. And I could be completely wrong, that I was accustomed to. And it seems like we're getting back to now with Campbell.
Okay. Sean, do you want to, something I didn't ask you last time, we've talked about Campbell and the great things that he's doing now, and it reminds us of the days of old at Penn State. Do you have anything to say about the previous regime, Franklin, and the time that he spent here, and him being let go? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. So like, I think Franklin was a very good football coach. Don't believe he was an elite great coach. I thought he was a good coach. I think he maybe gets a little too much criticism at times, because I'll be completely honest. I went to Pasadena and saw a Rose Bowl because James Franklin was coaching with my family. I've been to Indianapolis twice for Big Ten championships because James Franklin was coaching. I watched Drew Aller make a poor decision against Notre Dame and probably save me about $25,000 because I made a commitment to my family. If we play in the national championship, we will find a way to go. So I was holding my breath. So I think the thing that, as a former player, as a letterman, what I'm more critical of is how Penn State seemed to steer away from the Penn State I knew. And it's not Joe Paterno. It doesn't need to be Joe Paterno. Like you've heard me say it before. I think I mentioned the last time, like as a former letterman, like I got to play for Joe Paterno. Like I'm okay if Penn State wants to move on and remember the legacy and what he formed, because you can't deny it. It's everywhere you go. This university, you and I talking, is because of Joe Paterno. But I think it's okay for a new coach to create his own identity with the team. My biggest issue with Franklin is I think he had much better talent than the wins and losses would show. And it's great. You win 10 games every year. You're supposed to win 10 games every year. You're Penn State. Like that's the expectation, like I think ultimately it's why the exit happened, how it happened, is there's high expectations, and he's had some talented players. I mean, I think he has physically one of the more talented quarterbacks for, 3 seasons as a starter, and you're running, read options, swing passes, and bubble screens. And it's just like I'm sitting there watching games ready to pull my hair out. I'm like, they don't have confidence in Aller? Franklin's, got this new offensive coordinator. He's got no idea what the hell he's doing. And then at the same time, I look at it and be like, honestly, and I don't mean this to be rude towards any former Penn State player because I respect all of them, but I have a hard time naming a group of receivers over the last 5 or 6 years that were standout wide receivers for Penn State. And then I look at that, is that the scheme? You know what I mean? Because Penn State's never had a trouble getting talent. So it's this, I don't know the answer, to be honest with you, but one thing I do think Franklin did very well was bring Penn State into like the new era of college football, right? Like recruiting's different. Like you got to have a little bit of hype. Yeah, the kids want to sit in a Lamborghini that's got a Penn State, logo on it. And unfortunate, good or bad, it's just the way it is right now. And I think Franklin did a good job bridging that gap to bring Penn State into kind of the current college football that we see today. I just don't think he did a good job maximizing the talent that he had, especially the last few years. But like I said, like Big Ten championship games, a Rose Bowl, college football playoffs, like it's hard to say he is terrible. And I've never met him personally. I have no interactions. I do know some players who were recruited by him and left Penn State commitments to follow Franklin and Virginia Tech. So they thought very highly of him, enough to flip their commitments. So he's doing something right. And like I said, I think he was a very good football coach. I just don't think he's an elite football coach. Just my opinion. I'm not a football coach. I've never put a headset on in that capacity. But as a former player, got a pretty good understanding of the game. There's some things that I would watch, and I'm just like, what are we doing? And I think it's a lot of the frustration I'm sure you felt and a lot of fans have felt, watching Penn State underperform for really the talent that it looked like we had, at least on paper.
All right. So getting into like the Campbell era a little more, you said you never met Franklin, right?
Correct.
Okay. What do you what do you think about that? I mean, he never really had Letterman back. That's just what I've heard. Stephon Morris was talking about it the other day. One of your first comments that you made to me, which is how we connected, was it's great that Campbell is embracing the Letterman. It's his superpower, he said. So as a Letterman, how'd you feel then compared to now in terms of being welcomed back and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I'm not aware of Bill O'Brien being any kind of great get Letterman involved with everything either. So I don't know if it's as much of a knock on Franklin or a knock on a Bill O'Brien or any other coach at Penn State or outside of Penn State, as much as it is a testament or a feather in Campbell's cap, if you will, for the way he wants to run the program and run the team. I don't know how many programs are extremely active with their Letterman the way Campbell's been. So I look at more as something that we can, praise Campbell for rather than dismissing Franklin's lack of it. Because again, I never got any emails or phone calls when Bill O'Brien was the new head coach. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was a time when you could have used some Letterman because it was those crucial times. So I don't fault Franklin for that. Like I told you before, like I think I'm a little bit different. Like there's a group of Lettermen, and God bless them, they're all good guys, but it's like they think they should have a say in things and they should get this. And it's like, dude, we did our thing. Like we did it. We had our opportunity. We got an amazing education. We played for the greatest football coach of all time. Like I'll support the university any way I can. I'll support these players any way I can. Like I mentioned before, I volunteered for 2 committees I'm going to be on, which I think is awesome that Campbell's doing that. One's going to be more in my hometown, helping identify players with opportunity, and then one will be more with the current players. So I think that stuff's really, really cool. I know a lot of Lettermans are excited about it. We got a group text going on with probably 20, 25 players, former players right now, and a couple of staff members, just, ideas flowing back and forth, how we can support the team and support Campbell and try to do something really special in whatever capacity we can. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not putting a helmet on. I'm not going through these workouts. I wasn't in camp. I'm not in those meetings. So I trust Campbell to put those players in the best position they can. And whatever I can do as a Letterman to support it, I will. But again, I also recognize my time's come and gone. And that's okay. Everyone's will. So again, I don't, like I said, things I've heard of Franklin, they're not aligned with Penn State the way I know Penn State. But at the same time, I mean, he kept Penn State winning a bunch of football games. It's never the big one. So it's hard to be too upset. I got some really good memories of Penn State when he was the head coach.
Absolutely. You say you're the head of a committee.
I'm not head of committee. I am on a committee. So there's a handful of committees. And again, I don't know how much Campbell wants us to share. So I'll keep it. There's nothing crazy. But there's a couple of committees that he's put together that Letterman had the opportunity to volunteer for. So there's two of them. Like I said, one of them's going to be working with current players. And then one of them's going to be kind of helping identify who are the next group of Penn State players and using our networks, our sphere of influence to kind of help keep Penn State moving in the direction it's moving right now.
All right. Awesome. That's I know he was involving the Letterman, but that's great to hear.
Yeah. It's cool on my group text. I'm like, dude, I got this guy's cell phone number now. Like, these are guys who played before me. I used to look up for. And it's neat because there's a whole range of guys from, 20 years older than my time to guys that are, out of Penn State, maybe 7-8 years removed. Like, there's like this group text it's hilarious because there's just, 65, 70-year-olds on it to guys in their late 20s now, like all flying around ideas of what we want to try to achieve to, again, help support Penn State. We're not decision makers. We're not anything like that. But we all want to, we're proud of Penn State. We're proud of our experiences. And if, we can make a small impact or think we made a small impact, we're all really excited about that.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Sean, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your NFL career, Drew Aller and his recent game, and then get into what you're doing now. So this is my Steelers podcast shirt. Just put the MLP there.
Oh,
you can see it. But my buddy, he does the Black Gold Mondays, which is all Pittsburgh, Pirates, Steelers, Pens. He does a football show, J-Rod Knows Football. Want to get him on here with you. He loves this. I mean, this guy is diehard Pittsburgh fan. And I sent him the interview with you and he was like, that's insane. He diehard as it gets. He can talk Pittsburgh sports all day long.
Those Yinzers are crazy, man.
Oh, he is a Yinzer, that's for sure. So I'm going to be a little biased here because I'm a Steelers fan, but so you were at Lions training camp.
Yep.
If you can now, were you there talking to kids again, or were you just at camp?
Yeah. So, and it's one thing, and it kind of reminds me of Campbell a little bit, coincidentally, because they're both Campbells.
Yeah.
And again, I couldn't tell you this was Dan Campbell who started this, but when Dan took over as a head coach, they started what they call the Legends community. And it's just former players, and it's not guys who are Barry Sanders or Calvin Johnson. It's anyone who, played for a season or two on the Lions. You're part of an email list. So they send out things throughout the year of opportunities to, come to VIP training camp, or they have a whole section in Ford Field now, which is just like the Legends Lounge, they call it. So you get tickets to a couple of games every year. So my kids, it is coincidentally, my daughter is going to be a senior in high school next year. And a very highly competitive, as is her team, South Lionese varsity dance, nationally ranked. But two of their coaches are Detroit Lions cheerleaders.
Okay.
So I took my son and daughter and my wife to training camp because the cheerleaders were going to be there. And then my son's a football geek. Like he just anything football. He loves being around. I think I mentioned he's doing an internship with the Alabama football team right now.
Yep.
So it's an opportunity for us to go do that stuff. But I wasn't coaching. I wasn't speaking. I was just there as a fan, using some of the privilege I get of being a former player and getting some kind of special access to some neat things, and similar stuff that the Steelers do too as well.
Okay. So that's awesome. Dan Campbell, one of my favorite coaches, honestly. He what he's done with the Lions is unbelievable.
I'll run through a wall for Dan Campbell, and I haven't talked to the guy in 7-8 years.
Okay. Yeah, he was a great teammate. I first saw him on Hard Knocks with Miami. That's when he was a great tight end coach. I mean, he was like,
Yeah.
I was like, I like that guy. Richie Incognito was actually on that team, who we mentioned earlier. But so again, as a Steelers fan, I saw a clip. You were on another podcast. You were talking about when you first met James Harrison.
Oh, yeah.
What was it like playing for the First of all, the Steelers, again, I'm biased, absolute legendary franchise, the best ever, in my opinion. You played with Ryan Clark, Troy Polamalu, Casey Hampton, James Harrison, Larry Foote, Big Ben, Fast Willie Parker. The list goes on and on. Hines Ward.
Greg Diesel, Aaron Smith, Lamar Woodley, James Ferrier. Like I look at that roster and I'm like, how did I get on that roster? Like everybody on here was a superstar. Like it was just a team of studs.
Yeah, it really was. So can you tell the story about when you first met James Harrison?
Yeah.
Met him in a parking lot.
Yeah, so we were we lived up in Cranberry Township, and I think it was the same week I got into Pittsburgh, and my wife, obviously, like when you get cut and released, like there is no time to get your stuff together. It's like you got a flight at 1:00, get your ass here. So my wife would always lag a couple of days behind us, and then we just found out we were pregnant with she was pregnant with our second. My son, was coming up on almost 2 years old, I believe. And so we went just because this Jimmy Wan's Taipei was a Japanese sushi restaurant not far from where we had our condo in Cranberry. And I didn't see James there, but he is having dinner with his agent at the same time. And he saw us. I was new to the team. And I remember putting Jack, my son, in his car seat. I think I mentioned this on the podcast. And there was like this shadow that comes around the side of my car. And I turn around and it's James Harrison. And he's right here, and I'm focused. My son's, used to arch his back so you couldn't get this car seat buckled on him easily. And so I'm struggling with that. And then here's James Harrison. And I don't even know if I'd met him officially as part of the team yet. And he literally came over to see my son. James Harrison, and I love the guy. And he's got, him in I forget who he does his podcast with, Joe Hayden maybe.
Yeah, Joe Hayden, yeah.
And James Harrison, he probably still could play and be dominant. But he's an imposing figure. I think I said it on the last podcast, he's not a very tall guy, but that man is put together where there's not too many people who would really make me nervous, getting in a little tussle with. I wouldn't near James Harrison. I can tell you that right now. But him coming around and then just being this super gentle, little kid voice, looking at my son and then, introducing himself to my wife. But really that was how all of Pittsburgh was. Everybody was like that. They were just genuine good people. And I was trying to think, what's the secret sauce that made the Steelers so good at that time? And talent's talent. Every team has talent. Again, that was a stacked team. But I think he just had a really good collection of just good men. And I think when you get a locker room full of that and then you add in the talent level, it's hard not to go win a bunch of football games.
Yeah. It helps to have a first ballot Hall of Famer at quarterback too.
Yeah. Yep. Well, what's funny about it? I don't know if we mentioned this before, but I played with Ben when we were in high school. Ben's from, whether Dayton or Findlay. One of them, I'm from Cleveland. We were both graduated high school in 2000. So I knew Ben back in high school briefly in a couple of all-star games together. But I mean, you look at that roster. I mean, you mentioned Ben and Troy, and I mean, it's just every position had a superstar.
Yeah. I mean, multiple Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
And you played with Heath Miller. That's my favorite tight end ever of any.
He's got to be the most complete tight end to play the game. My. You know, there might be better receiving tight ends, might be better blocking tight ends, but there's no one who combined both of them and was just a solid 3-down tight end like Heath Miller. And speaking of a good dude, I mean, how lucky was I to be in a tight ends room with Heath Miller, Matt Spaeth, James Daniel was our tight end coach. Who was hilarious, just as kind of like, we call him the old curmudgeon, like didn't say much, but just an awesome coach. And like I think I mentioned, you know, Heath, Matt, and I, like we, text once in a while, just checking everyone's doing. I had breakfast with Matt Spaeth when I was in Pittsburgh. God, probably been close to a year now. So like it just like again, just very blessed and fortunate. Like that's the experience I got to have with just awesome people, you know. And again, to me, it extends well beyond football. Yeah, like winning the Super Bowl is awesome, but like being a part of that and with those people is even more special, honestly, than just winning a bunch of games.
Yeah, I mean, my dad and I, like my dad, he always joked because Heath Miller, he was just like a pure Steeler, like go to work, do your job, go home.
Yeah,
my dad would always joke because my dad, he's a big reader. He always tried to get us to read his kids growing up and stuff. He always said, you know, Heath goes out, makes an acrobatic catch, goes back to the bench, opens up a book and reads until he has to go back.
Yeah.
And he never dropped the ball either, you know?
No. And it's funny because like he would never he never seemed to like get tired. He never seemed to get too excited. He never seemed to get too down. He was just like this steady, even, like you didn't know if we were up by 2 scores or down by 2 scores. You didn't know if Heath, you know, was catching 8 passes for 110 yards and 3 touchdowns, or he's dropped every pass. Like he was just that kind of steady player. And I think a lot of the greats, you know, have that attribute about them. They don't get too high with the highs or too low with the lows. They're just nice and steady and smooth. And that was Heath.
Yes. Yeah. He was a lot of fun to watch. First rounder, 2004 out of Virginia.
Yeah.
Man. And then he wins a Super Bowl like almost immediately. Unbelievable. But Sean, so we talked a little bit about your story and some of the plays from Super Bowl 43. You know, you went from the Titans to the Packers. And then you were on the Lions when they were, you know, they went winless with Dan Campbell.
I was in training camp when they went winless. Yeah.
Okay. You were in
so that 0-16 winless season for the Lions was the Super Bowl year for the Steelers. So I was in training camp with the Detroit Lions.
Yes.
Got released from training or from the Detroit Lions, signed by the Steelers the next day. Lions go 0-16, Steelers 12-4, make a run in the playoffs, win a Super Bowl. And I burned every bridge I had in Detroit during that time. Thank God that the regime's turned over now. And I'm not looking for work there. But I was not happy with the way I was released from Detroit. And that's another topic for a podcast. It's just the dirty side of the business. It is what it is. But it was the biggest blessing in disguise because 24 hours later, I was walking into the Pittsburgh Steelers locker room, and who would have known what was going to happen over the next, 16 weeks of the regular season and or 17 weeks and into the playoffs. But every time the Detroit Lions would lose, and again, like I had good friends on the team and guys like Dan Campbell, Calvin Johnson, so I never wanted to see them lose. But the organization, every time I'd be like, okay, that's what you get. Oh yeah, by the way, we're playing the 4:00 game in prime time right now, with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck doing our announcing. You guys are playing, at 1:00 with the B squad doing your game. It's only going to be on the local TV because nobody cares. So it was a little bit of redemption. I don't mind saying it because I was a human punching bag for most of my NFL career. So it was my moment to have a little bit of like, okay, you guys made your choice. Here's where I'm at now. And these guys think I can help them win. Sorry, you didn't. But again, that's in the past. I don't have any hard feelings or ill will towards the Lions. They've been awesome with me now, especially with kind of the change they've had at that organization.
Well, I feel it's a true Lions franchise now with Dan Campbell there because he was a Lion.
Well, and Detroit is a lot like Pittsburgh. Like, it's a blue collar, working class town. And those people, they love their sports teams. And so to see the Detroit Lions, and I don't care how good you are at baseball, hockey, there's something different about the NFL and football, especially in, these towns. So to see Detroit having a really good football team that the city is really proud of and behind, spending, majority of my time in Detroit, it's pretty cool to be a part of it. And I get, enjoy getting an opportunity. I think, I mentioned I got to go do a camp and speak to a bunch of kids there. Got to go to training camp. And so it's been good for the city of Detroit. And it reminds me a lot of Pittsburgh, not quite as established, but like for those fans to get behind their team.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's a franchise and a fan base that deserves a winning team.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Last question about the NFL here. And I wanted to ask you about this last time. You played in the Super Bowl, you won with the Steelers. This is your I'm going to pull up your one video here where you're talking about winning the ring. There it is. So you win a ring with the Steelers. What's it like if you could just, I don't know if you can even explain it, but what's it like playing in a Super Bowl? I mean, what's it like? You mentioned running out of this tunnel earlier. I mean, the greatest Super Bowl of all time. You went from the Lions to the Steelers, played in the greatest Super Bowl ever. What's that like?
And because a lot of my teammates were on the Super Bowl team 2 years prior, or 3 years, 2 or 3, whatever it was, the Seattle game, played in Detroit. They all said it, and they're almost like, you almost have to go to 2 Super Bowls because the very first one is like a blur. Like, everything is overwhelming, and it just happens so fast. And then they said the second one, the one I got to be a part of, my first, like, you actually got to like slow down and enjoy all the special moments throughout it. Now, again, once, the ball's kicked off, it's 60 minutes of football, and it's the game, and especially that game and some of the moments that we had in it, where it's like, I forget what we went into halftime, but I think we all kind of thought we had the game wrapped up at halftime. And then Larry Fitzgerald and Kurt Warner had something different to say in the second half than the Santonio Holmes catch. So many emotions. But like before the game and after the game, it's like they're all, like I said, it's almost just like a blur. Like, you had those nerves at the beginning of the game. After the game, it's like you're trying to find your family, you're trying to celebrate with your friends down on the field. But everything just seemed to happen so fast. Like, I wish I could go back and like slow down time so I could soak it in more and enjoy it more. And we lingered on that field until they kicked us off of the field. And then we had an amazing after party back at our hotel with like, you couldn't like walk without bumping into an A-list celebrity. Everybody wants to be at the winning team's party. So just really cool stuff. But like I said, I almost wish I had time to recognize in the moment just how cool this was. I got to be a part of it because it was hard after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This just, it brings back so many memories. Just that game, I was like, I couldn't breathe during that game. It was so back and forth. But yeah, Sean, just unbelievable.
Well, like I said, like all those moments, like, being in a line and like they're literally passing Lombardi player to player to player. And like you get your 15 seconds with it and, you're kissing it. And the guy next to you, like, he's got snot on it and sweat on it, but you don't care. Like,
no,
it was just like, again, but I just wish you had the time to like absorb and like almost take a second and just realize what's happening right now. Because it's just so overwhelming, and every emotion you can think of. Just absolutely insane. And again, the way that game turned out, more so than any other Super Bowl I've seen, just incredible.
Yeah, great. I mean, just to this day, when I see that replay of Santonio Holmes, I'm like, I don't even know how he even got 2 feet down. I mean, I'm like, how did he do that?
I mean, you're talking about that entire play. This is what I think is cool about sports, just in general. The margin of error for that play to happen the way it happened, for the pass to be where the pass was, for Santonio's toes to catch just inside. I mean, it's like anything is off a half an inch. That pass isn't absolutely perfect, and those toes don't drag. Like, it's just, again, like you couldn't design it any differently, any better, for that play to happen the way it happened. I still watch it, and I'm just like, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how James Harrison takes 101 yards or whatever it ended up being. Like, all these moments. I don't know how Larry Fitzgerald gets scot-free down the middle of the field and just sucks the wind out of the entire Steelers team. It was just one of those games, and it's like, but during it, and like, it's always on NFL Network because it was that big of a game. So like, you flip the channels enough, you're going to catch the replay of that game at some point. So like, I watch it back and like, oh, I forgot about that happened and that happened. And just an incredible game. But again, like, I have to watch it over and over again just to remember how many exciting moments there were throughout that game.
Yeah. So quick story. Shortly before that, my uncle, my dad's brother, 50 years old, he passed away, had a heart attack, just sudden, had diabetes, and he was a huge Steelers fan. And when we were watching that game, we said, Uncle Frank's standing down there in the end zone, and he helped Santonio Holmes catch that ball. So that's our little
God bless him, because he made a lot of people really happy.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, that's a cool story.
I think he had something to do with it, honestly. But yeah, great play. All right, Sean. So again, wanted to get into what you're doing now.
Sure.
You're in State College now. You're at the you're at a hotel. Maybe I shouldn't say where you're at, but you're at a hotel. Got a good deal.
Yeah, it's moving weekend. Campus is a zoo, an absolute zoo right now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, Super Bowls, the mortgages, like whatever you want to touch on, and what my audience can do, if they want to come to you for services.
Yeah, I'll give like the quick version of it, and because again, I like talking sports, but I appreciate the opportunity to kind of tell what I'm doing now. Is when I got done playing, took some time off, and then I spent a little over a decade, working for the largest mortgage lender in the country that no one's ever heard of because we're all wholesale. So I spent about 10 years there. My last 5, I was leading, sales teams as assistant VP of sales, and then got burned out of corporate. So I talked to our CEO and some of our leaders and said, I want to make a change, and I'm going to get on the other side of the business and start originating. And when I was, at United Wholesale Mortgage, was an awesome company. We were doing over $200 billion a year in loan originations. So I've seen every single mortgage issue, concern that there is. So I decided to, again, leave corporate and get on the other side of the business and originate loans. So that's what I do now. And I absolutely love it. Like I said, I'm in State College all the time because of it. So building some really good partnerships with some of the real estate companies here in town. I had an amazing lunch with the group out in Phillipsburg. They're opening an office in State College in the coming weeks. And so like Penn State, it's a really special place to me. Like I said, like my wife, that's her right there. I make her, yep, that was our group today. Amy Duran group, they're one of the top groups in the entire state of Pennsylvania, let alone just, central PA. And so like, it's what I do. And I help educate people. I come in with really low, thin margins so I can get borrowers the best, lowest interest rates, because that's always a big concern, especially right now in affordability. So I always challenge people, like if you're getting a mortgage and you think you got a good deal, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. I guarantee I can beat that deal and get you a better deal. And then building a presence here in State College is really important to me because, like I said, it's such an important place, not just to me, but to my family. And so I'm really looking forward to that. So if you need a mortgage, you got mortgage questions, go check out my my Instagram page. I'm still learning Instagram, so some of it's kind of cringe. Some of it I try to be funny. I think I'm funny. No one else thinks I'm funny. That's okay. I laugh at my own stuff. Like this one right here, that's funny right there. Like there's me coaching a football camp, and then we flip it into some mortgage stuff.
That's what you're talking about.
I've been having a lot of fun with it. And I've actually, like since I started kind of some of the social media, I got to meet you through social media. We formed a good friendship and relationship. And it's happened with a couple of other people, whether it's State College or Pittsburgh. And so again, if you need anything mortgage related, I'm your guy to go to. And like I said, I've been doing it a long time at a high level. And I always like to say too, like the things that made me successful as a Penn State football player or, in the NFL are the same things that I think make me a good mortgage and a loan originator. It's just like working hard. That's it. There's no shortcuts. There's no secrets. It's just outworking everybody else. You're not being the most talented and, being able to communicate. There you go. High level of communication. So all those things are just stressful. You got people who are making the largest investment of their lifetime. And again, in this day and age with interest rates the way they are, there's a lot of uncertainty. So I spend a lot of my time educating people and making sure that we're putting them in the best position we possibly can.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, what do we got followers now? 601? Oh man.
601.
I think doesn't they send me a plaque or something now that I broke 600 followers?
Yeah, I think you
have to monetize my page.
Little silver plaque. You can put it in the background when you're doing a podcast.
And there's some kid out there right now doing a silly dance, who's going to get 10,000 followers overnight, and I'm out here trying to figure out how to edit videos and put them together for my measly 600. So if you're watching and you don't follow, go give me a follow and we'll boost the algorithm a little bit.
Yes, please do. For me, Sean, like I have, I don't know, 683. So me,
I'm going to catch you.
So yeah, you're going to catch up. Social media following, like YouTube is a little different because we do the show on here, but social media, I'm like, follow me, don't follow me. It's just clips for me, but for you, that's your business. So definitely go give Sean a follow.
Well, it's like you and I were talking before we got on air. It's like, it's a boring subject. It's a boring topic. And unless you need a mortgage, no one cares. And I fully understand that. So that's why I try to mix it up and make it some fun stuff. And you hope enough people see it. So when that time does come, if they're moving, and they think about it, they might remember, that stupid guy on Instagram who used to play football, does mortgages. Let's reach out to him. So again, a lot of my content just try to be more educational, but try to make it fun because it's a boring topic. We're talking basis points and terms and regulations and guidelines. No one's really excited to be like, I want to go get a mortgage today, but you need a mortgage if you want to own a home. And who better to go to than a former Penn State guy who's got good roots and really cares about not just, State College, but Center County and the surrounding areas. Because to me, it's all the same Penn State community because there ain't much between here and Pittsburgh and Philadelphia other than State College. So if you're in the Central PA area, I can help you out.
Amen to that, Sean. And Super Bowl's the Mortgages going to be a sponsor of the show. So
yeah, excited about that.
Yeah, going to have it on the website, have a little logo on in the background there. So Sean is, we're going to put up the info on the website. So if you guys need services, please go to Sean. Sean, one thing I forgot, and you said you like talking sports. Wanted to talk about Drew Aller. So what was your opinion on Drew Aller's performance with the Steelers, being a former Penn State guy?
Yeah, so I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll say this, and this has nothing to do with Drew Aller. Preseason is all hype. Yep. And how many times have you heard about the most amazing player in training camp, and then you never hear another word about him? He's got McCarthy coming out and saying, "Oh, we think we got a first-round talent." Well, I'm like, no, you don't. You would draft him in the first round. Like, no one's stupid. Like, I get it. It makes sense to say. What I thought was impressive watching clips of the game. I didn't get to catch all of it. I was actually driving back home, dropping my son off at Alabama that Thursday night. I think it was Thursday. he was decisive, in my opinion. My big question mark on Aller has never been physical skills. I think he's got all the tools in the world to be a Hall of Fame, elite franchise type quarterback. It was the decision making and the mental aspect of the game. But watching some of those clips, he seemed comfortable, which is like interesting, especially your first real live action in the NFL where he never looked comfortable, especially his senior year at Penn State. So I was really, like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic about Drew Aller. I think he did what everyone hoped he would do. I also think sometimes we got to keep in mind it's preseason, it's the second half of preseason, it's a little bit different level of competition. As someone who played a lot of second half preseason football, I can tell you it's not the same as what you'll see on Sundays. But at the same time, we don't need Drew Aller to be ready in 2.5 or 3 weeks for the first game. We need him to be ready a year from now. So I'm really excited. And more than anything, I'm happy for Drew. I think maybe we mentioned it last time, but like I didn't have to get on Instagram and see people trashing me the day after a college football game. You know what I mean? Like that stuff didn't exist. So I can't imagine how these young players deal with some of the outside noise. So to get some of that praise and, maybe feel a little bit of that weight lifted off of him, I hope he carries that into the rest of this preseason. But like I said, I am very optimistic with a hint of caution until we see some live action on real Sunday football. But certainly you couldn't ask for a better start for the Drew Aller era in Pittsburgh. And then again, being biased towards both Penn State and Pittsburgh, like I'm even more excited because I'll get to continue to watch his career develop. And I don't know if you and I were talking last time, not being forced to be the starter, I think it's going to be, one of the biggest, opportunities and, good fortunes for him is to go learn the game, watch Aaron Rodgers, learn from Mason if he's still there, Will Howard, whoever it is, learn how to be a pro. And then when your time comes, I do think he'll be ready. So I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited for the kid. I think he deserves it. He's been taking a beating, of the last couple of years. I don't think all of it's warranted. Some of it is like you make a bad decision, And unfortunately, that's the world we live in. You want the fame, you got to handle some of the negative of it. But I'm really happy that he had that performance and excited to see what we see the rest of the preseason.
Absolutely. Yeah, his journey from high school to Penn State to the NFL, breaking his ankle, all that. It was just amazing to see him have a game like that in his first game. So
it is. And again, I'm not one to say people deserve things, but I think he deserved that. I think the one thing I'll say about, at least from my perspective, is I never saw Drew or heard Drew point fingers, blame anybody else. It was never, and I'm going to transfer, you got guys, and I don't know, I'm trying to think of some of these quarterbacks like a Carson Beck, you play for 3 different schools, you just keep moving around until you find, like, Aller never did that. And I have a lot of respect for him because of that. He hung out, or hung through some of the tough times. And again, we talked about it earlier. I don't think Franklin, or however you say the coordinator's name from last year, did him any favors with the play calling. And I also think if you're a quarterback and all the plays are calling are swing and bubble passes, that's got to start to erode at your confidence. They don't think you the ball downfield, and that's the worst thing I think you can do as a coach is put handcuffs on your player and then expect him to perform. So I'm excited for him. Sorry, that's a long, drawn-out way of just saying I'm really excited for him because, again, as much as I didn't like some of his decision-making, he's a young player learning the game, and I don't think he was always judged or criticized fairly while at Penn State.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's one thing my dad said. He got the crap beat out of him for 4 years, never left.
No.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He could have left, and he number 1 quarterback in the class. Could have left, he didn't. So
when you're in the college football semifinals, you know what I mean? And granted, you made a bad throw at the end of the game. It happens. But he had a resume where I'm with you. Like, he could have easily left and said he wasn't getting the right play calling or the right offense for him and, pointed the finger at Franklin or coordinators or whoever. But he stuck it out. And again, I think that's the Penn State in a player, you know what I mean? Where, okay, this guy is a Penn State guy. And I think that's why he'll be successful ultimately at the NFL. because he's weathered the storm. You know what I mean? He's not running from it. He's running into the storm, not away from it. So God bless him for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great to see. Sean, it was, again, thank you for coming on, man.
The pleasure's all mine, man.
I don't want to go too long on these things. You know, we could talk about this stuff all day. You know,
like you said, I'm in State College in a hotel. I got no wife, no kids, you know. After this, I'm going to just watch TV when it's like, what's that, to get the remote to myself and be able to do whatever I want. And then
there you go.
Get up tomorrow, put some work in, and then I go to Pittsburgh tomorrow afternoon. I got some more meetings with some real estate agents in Pittsburgh. So, but it's always fun stuff because I get to, you know, run into people that I know from both places. So it's been a lot of fun.
So if you go to training camp again with the Lions, if you could, just ask Jameson Williams to go to the Steelers. We can use them.
You know what? The Lions broke training camp already.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, getting soft. I think the Steelers are in Latrobe for one more week, aren't they? Or have they left?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, the Lions broke training camp today, I believe, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll tell you what's funny, though, real quickly, and then we can let you go. It's I went to that training camp, and it's like a circus in Detroit, like in the best way. It's like an event. Like they got music, they got food trucks, they got stands, they got, I mean, it reminded me of like a Steelers training camp in Latrobe with the amount of fans that they have now and the experiences going on, where prior to Dan Campbell being in Detroit, no one wanted to go to Detroit Lions training camp. Nobody cared. So it was really cool to go see that because like we were saying earlier, Detroit's a great sports town. So it was a lot of fun. But yeah, NFL guys are getting soft these days and breaking training camp after it's a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Wait, you think it's the head coach?
I won't even like mutter his name and then the word soft because he'll hear it somehow, and I don't want to deal with that. There's nothing soft about Dan Campbell. No. I promise you that.
Of course not. Yeah, I'll Jahmyr Gibbs, man. Great running back. I love that guy.
Well, they just made him the highest paid back in the league now, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm glad that they did. I mean, that's the one thing the Ford family and whoever's running that show, I think they've made some mistakes with some really talented players. So it's nice to see him get locked up because you can't let a guy like that go. And he's special. He's fun to watch.
All right, Sean. Thanks again for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Fun. And we'll be doing it again. So
yeah, looking forward to it.
All right. You have a good night, Sean.
Thanks so much.
Yep.